It's 1987. You're standing in the toy aisle. You see a sea of grey plastic cartridges, but then something catches your eye. It's a box with a literal window cut out of it, and shimmering through that cardboard is a slab of solid gold.
Well, solid gold plastic, Dan. But to a 10-year-old in the 80s, it might as well have been the Holy Grail. It didn't look like a game. It looked like an artifact.
Exactly. And when you took it home and popped it in your NES, you didn't get a start button. You got a name entry screen. You got a save file, and then you were dropped into the middle of a field with no sword, no map, and no instructions.
It was the ultimate figure it out or die moment in gaming history. And today, we're going to go deep, and I mean level 9 Death Mountain deep, into the creation of The Legend of Zelda.
We're talking about the legal panic that nearly deleted the theme song, the accidental creation of the second quest, and why Link was almost a time-travelling cyborg from the future.
I'm Dan P.
And I'm Dan H.
Pack your candles, your red potions. It's dangerous to go alone.
Take this episode. Let's dive in. Crew, and welcome to this week's episode of Gaming Views, where Dan is absolutely right. We are deep diving into The Legend of Zelda thanks to its 40th 40th anniversary. Dan, I'm that old. It's his 40th
I
anniversary.
read about it in books. Yeah.
Screw you. You're not that much younger. Right. Welcome, everybody. I will do housekeeping up front today because one of us forgets. Look, if you like the nonsense so far, if you like this amazing piece so far, please do like and subscribe. It doesn't mean much to you, but it means everything to us, and it just makes things better. YouTube and Spotify and other places. Right. Good. Thank you. Mr. P, how the hell are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm bubbly, I think is the term.
Bubbly, I like that.
I'm going for
bubbly.
that. I'm going for that. Yeah. And part of the reason why, do you know, something exciting, well, you know, but something exciting happened last week. And
yes,
I think we should tell people. So
tell the masses.
Unfortunately, you were predisposed.
1 day's notice.
Yeah. There is an issue. But I got to meet the wonderful Joey from the Game Club pod last week. So,
were you fanboying?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of, so I texted him because he obviously doesn't live around here. So he was down in London for work one day. And you and I had finished recording. That's right. Because it was, I think it was a Monday night, and we'd finished recording, and he goes, so it was about 10 o'clock. He goes, "You're in London tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah," because I thought he was just asking because, you know, to be nice. But he goes, "Oh, I'm going to be in London tomorrow. Just here we can meet." I'm like, you know, well, you've given us one night's notice. But yeah, I know you were busy. But, you know, he said he'll be down again. He'll be down again. But I messaged him and said, "Look, I've got to get to you from work. I'll be wearing a red rose on my coat just so you can see me walking." You know, it's like they do in
a bit
films.
Pink carnation.
Yeah, that's maybe that. Carnation was a dessert, wasn't it?
Drink.
Yeah, drink.
Can't.
And we couldn't find each other. It was like a, you know, it was kind of like one of those romantic movies. You know, he sent me his live location. I got there. I was in the complete wrong place. So I sent him mine, and then we
dropped your pin. Did he drop your pin, Dan?
Yeah, which my phone never seems to work on that. It just doesn't. But we met up, and it was only for about half hour because his train was due in a half hour, weirdly. But It was fun. It's nice to. So I think I've met now. That's 4 podcasters I've ended up meeting.
Okay. Is that the first time you met him in person?
It's the first time I've met him in person.
Holy Jesus! I thought you boys had met up before. So this must have been a bigger experience than meeting Ian Lee. To look at that episode, please go and have a watch. I'll link it up there. Go on, carry on, Dan.
Yeah, no, we've known each other now for about 4 years, and obviously done a number of podcasts and chatted a lot, but we've never met. We were looking at it, and then obviously, you know, sort of stuff gets in the way.
stuff happens. Yeah,
and
life.
So we'll flash up a picture just to prove I met him. But yeah, and a thoroughly jolly chap he is too in real life. So
in real life, is it all an act then? Because he's quite acerbic when I talk to him, or maybe it's just me.
Well, he was quite grumpy, but I didn't want to. No.
Don't let down his image, Dan.
He's a good lad. So he said next time he comes, he'll give us a bit more notice. He'll get a later train. So yeah,
I would love that. We'll find somewhere lovely down at the coal yard or something around King's Cross and go for a bite to eat as well, I think.
Yeah. So so that was good. That was good.
Love it.
How have you been?
Very well. Yeah, I went for a run for the first time in 2 years yesterday. Yeah, the run went very well. Today, I've made a new mortal enemy. Stairs. Stairs are now something I can't walk down.
Mine too. My enemy is stairs as well. So
yeah, I can go up them, but down them, I have significant DOMs in my legs. I overdid it. I overexerted myself. It's silly. But I was running with my 12-year-old daughter who, was basically walking for half of it because she walks as fast as I run. So that will give you an idea of how quick that pace was. Right, moving on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. P, what have you been playing?
It's a bit of mix this week. So I
love the mix.
I finished last week. I said last week that I finished Detroit Become Human. So I needed a new big game. So moved on to God of War Ragnarok. Yeah.
Such a good game.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
And it is really good. I've done the thing where I'm about 12 hours in thinking I'm like 2/3 of the way through. And I think I'm just about a quarter of the way through when I have a look.
It's big. It's a big one.
Yeah. But
God of War Ragnarok, sorry. Yep.
The thing about it is, I think I said to you on a walk yesterday, didn't I, that it's clearly the better game in terms of the mechanics and, how it feels, how it plays.
More polished.
Yeah, polished actually, is the word. But I've at the moment, I think I found the first game more engaging story-wise.
Okay.
Yeah. Not to say this is a bad one. It's just, I don't know if it's because the first one obviously was new to me, especially after all these years and wanting to play it. But yeah, this game, I think the story engaged me more in the first one, but this, definitely a much more fun experience to play in terms of like the traversal, some of the traversal and the finding the loot, etc.
It's a huge turnaround for those series because they weren't originally known for their great storytelling. I mean, they were good. It was man and gods at war, basically, wasn't it? In the initial series on the old PlayStation 2 and 3, and but they were just an excuse to go out and pull eyeballs out of Cyclops and things like that. They weren't known for their fabulous storytelling, but to switch that round and move it to a different setting, the kind of Scandi Norse setting that they moved it to, they've done a phenomenal job with it. It's such a good series of games. I mean, all of them are great, but to move it as they have done is brilliant.
And some of the the conversations, the minor one-off quips to each other is brilliant. I mean, there was right at the start there was something that Kratos said that just cracked me up. Of all people, him to say that.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about this one is quite early on, you go through to another realm, and it's bright and colourful. It's not snowy, and that just felt really refreshing to do as well. And all on the little Steam Deck again, which handles it particularly well.
Powerhouse, isn't it? Yeah.
And I'm playing it on low settings, but it still looks really good. It still looks really good. It's a cracking looking game, and can't wait for the next one to come out. So.
Who knows? Who knows when that'll be? It won't be soon enough. I know that.
Yeah. But
I'm jonesing for another God of War.
But this is it. We've mentioned a lot of games on this show, obviously, and we've mentioned that like your Far Cry's and Assassin's Creed that come year in year out. But again, it goes to show what you can do if you have a little bit of time to make the game you want to do.
Yeah, agreed. And we've said it before. It's something that Sony do so well with their single-player campaigns and single-player focused games. They allow time for the developers to really put their heart and soul into it. It's why I wasn't bothered that Wolverine was taking so long to come out, because I know the job that Insomniac had done with Spider-Man, So you kind of go, it's like Naughty Dog as well. You're not too worried about, Heretic, the Intergalactic Prophet. But you're kind of like, well, their other games were amazing. This has got to be amazing because they've given them that time. So yeah, props to Sony for that.
Yeah. So that's my main game. Then I've had a couple of side games. So the first one, we're bringing cats back to the podcast.
Of course we are, but not hidden this time.
No, they're very much on view. So it's Cat Bait, and this was in my library. I think I said to you, I can't remember it again. It might have been either one that I got gifted, I think, from Joe.
Weirdly, it was in my library as well.
Oh, was it? Was it in your library?
It was already. Then I think it was just there.
I think it's from one of those mystery, that website.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's that. And I thought, you know what? I needed a game that if I'm playing God of War, I needed a side game that was something that looked quick. And I didn't know much about it. And I looked quickly online and it said, yeah, this is a game you can play quickly. And ultimately, it's what is it? It's like a survival roguelike thing, isn't it? Where you've got to survive.
It's a horde mode. Yeah, it's basically a horde mode survivor. Yeah.
But I really like this. Now, I know we might have different views, but I found this fun because... One, the graphics are quite fun. It's like pixel, like the 8-bit pixely. It's as opposed to some of these. Like I reviewed, was it God of Weapons? Yeah, not God of War, God of Weapons.
Oh, not God of War.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can do soon. And, most of them, and whilst I really enjoyed that, most of these games are quite dark dungeon, serious, whereas this is a cat and it's quite fun. Like your enemies are mice and rats and things like that. And I like the weapon combination as well. It's got quite a fun variety. So one will be, I think it's a shaman where it does like a circle of light around
the circle
you.
Ball, yeah. The ball of wool.
Archers, the ball of the yarn, etc. And and I just found it fun, and it's perfect sort of half an hour distraction game.
So you told me about this, and I played it, and I put it on for about 90 seconds. And what did I say to you? This is.
Oh yes, Vampire Survivors. I think.
I said this is Vampire Survivors with cats and mice. It's exactly the same game,
which I've not played yet, but I've got to download it. Yeah,
you do. It's because I know you've got it. And Vampire Survivors, I told you, just be careful. It is so highly addictive. It's such a good game, and it's so broad and vast, and it's had lots of tie-ins with other games and things like that. But it is phenomenal. You're going to love Vampire Survivors.
Yes.
Same thing. And one of the reviews I did, Vampire Hunters, was basically Vampire Survivors in 3D.
First person guns, wasn't it?
Yeah. First person. Yeah.
So there was
same thing.
Well, so there was that, and then I decided to have a little side game on the side of the side game.
Yeah.
And this is one again I can't believe I'd not played before, but Slay the Spire, which I'm loving.
Such a good game, and so highly addictive.
Yeah. I thought I started it, was it 2 nights ago? So Sunday night and Saturday night, sorry. And it was that one more go. It was that one more go thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're straight into it. There's no messing around. There's no, you don't need a long-winded tutorial. It's just like a card battle of roguelike again, isn't it?
It is.
But it's not complex. It's straight into it. It's like Balatro.
There's something to it. But it is one of those games, the deeper you go, the deeper the complexity gets. Yeah. But it takes you, it holds your hand through it. It not hold your hand in a negative way, but you start seeing avenues where you go, oh, maybe I could try this and that. Yeah. And all of a sudden things become really clear where previously you were like, I don't think I'd have got that at the start. And I think, so Slay the Spire 2 is out in early access in March and has even more complexity and more depth. But again, I trust that team to kind of let people understand and help them through that as it's developed. So I'm so looking forward to that. And I love Slay the Spire.
Yeah. So again, it was again, a nice little surprise. So last night I'd completed the first run, like the first big boss in that. And what I like about it is, so you're presented with a map, aren't you? And you've got a number of paths you can take, and each step you can either, I think, fight normal enemies, an elite enemy, go to like a mystery thing where you can get a positive or a negative thing happen, like you could lose money or lose cards. You've got a shop, and then you can rest. So the thing I did last night, which was quite good, you actually, if you plan it out, take the time, because before I got to the boss, I was able to do 2 rest stops where you get 30% of your energy back,
your health back,
which meant I was full energy, which meant that was the only reason I could beat that boss. So, yeah, it's fun game. So
yeah, it's brilliant. It's an amazing game. Do you want to do your last game?
I was going to do the last game first.
Yeah, I think that would probably make sense for us, wouldn't it?
I just need to mention this one because I've really fallen back into this in a big way, and it's Wordle. It's Wordle, and I love it.
Did you get today's?
Have I done today's? Actually, that's a good point. I'm not sure if I've done today's. Yeah. Do you know what? I had never played it. Then the last place I worked at, there was a group of people playing it, and it made me want to play it. And I then stopped playing it for ages. And so I'm just checking. No, I haven't done it, so we could do it live on air.
I've already done it, so but I got it in 3 today, so I know what it is.
and Wordle, is just one of those things that scratches that itch for a very quick mind bender, isn't it? It's great. Yeah. And
I think the guy created it for, I think it was his sister or his sister-in-law, because she was like I think he was texting her and then kind of went, I think he's a developer, and he put it into a game, and then and the rest, as they say, is history. But what a way to go out! Just sell it to the New York Times. And
what a simple idea for a game, isn't it?
Idea. It's so good.
I mean, not taking anything away from him for inventing it, but it is just such a simple idea, and you think it was there for the time. I mean, I wonder if there were similar games. I'm not saying he copied them, but there's probably similar style things out there. I mean, there's so many word games, right? But yeah, we've got to think of one, the Gaming Views game. Yeah.
I think we have to, because like you said, it was there for the taking, right? And it was just like, it was so easy. Not anyone could have thought of that, but he came up with it and coded it, and
he's did
a great job,
living his best life now. But yeah, so Wordle, I thought I'd mention that just because it is like that everyday thing, other than today, obviously. And the last game, we'll mention it because I know you'll speak about it too, was Arc Raiders. So now I know you played it because we were playing together, or trying to, last night. I had a few tech issues.
You did. I had some tech issues. I thought the network problem was yours, but it was mine.
Oh, was the network yours? Yeah. You made me restart my Steam Deck twice.
No, what I mean is where I kept getting lag. I thought it was you. I thought it was it was mine. Right, so I had a problem with that on my PS5, and I've resolved it by rebooting the router.
So on my side, very quickly. So I had it on the Steam Deck through the Steam family. You've got it on the PlayStation, and so I've actually gone and bought it today on the Xbox because I need my own copy, because I think the GCP boys ended up playing it, which I think that's what caused my bigger problems at the end. Yeah, I was saying, I'm not moving, I can't move, and then I couldn't hear you, we couldn't speak. So whilst all I'll say on it before, you can speak about it, is, again, on paper, it doesn't feel like a game I thought I would like. Not that it's not a good game, but I just thought it's not a game I'd get invested in. But the couple of rounds we played, and then I said to you, I watched some videos today, and I'm just loving the idea of working cooperatively with yourself. And going into a world where it's not competitive online shooter, although some of your stories make it sound like it probably should be. But that co-op kind of scavenging, trying to get those quests done. It ticked the boxes in my mind. So I ended up buying it on the Xbox today so we can play properly.
I had a difficult start with it because I think I got it maybe a week ago or so, and I jumped on to have a solo play, and I played for about 90 seconds before some arsehole just killed me. Like, for no reason. I literally walked across a swamp, through an abandoned building. He saw me, came up behind me and just shot me. And I'm like, I hadn't even figured out how to say I'm a friendly, but I don't think it would have mattered with this guy. He just killed me immediately. And I was like, right, it's that sort of game then. So I was like, right, I'll have another go. So I came on. I lasted about, 2 or 3 minutes. I was searching the building. As I came out of the building, someone started popping me with a sniper rifle. And I'm like, right. So then I started shooting back. They threw down a smoke grenade and ran off. I ran away, ran into a bloody cloud of drones, and they just zapped me and killed me. And then the final round I played on that day, I actually managed to escape, but I was still downed when the elevator went down. So I hadn't had the most auspicious start with Arc Raiders. But now I've played it a bit more, and I think I was saying earlier, I had a go for about an hour this evening, and I had a much better run with people, and I guess it's the matchmaking element, with people who were of more of a like mind of me. I'm not in it to go and murder people. I want to have fun. I want to take down the arcs. I want to, loot and build my stuff. And so the gameplay loop I totally get. And like you said, on paper, not a game I'd actually enjoy. But combining the better session I had this evening with the game that we played last night, which when it worked really well and was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, and we ran into a German chap last night in one of the abandoned buildings. It was just like, "Are you friendly?" And like,
put your weapon away. I was thinking, no, I've seen these videos.
I've seen it. You're gonna get shot, aren't you? But there was two of us and one of him. I'm really pleased that you decided to pick it up, because I did say, look, if it's not your bag, don't spend the money, right? But I'm really pleased because I think it is a game we can really get into. We really enjoyed Helldivers. Playing that. So I'm looking forward to a bit more of that now.
I think if we hadn't have had those couple of rounds last night, so if I'd have gone into a card, I don't think I would have bought it. But I think trying it made me like it. And I just want to say our first round together. So bear in mind, this was my first round of it. So one of those big ships came over. What do you call it?
The Rocketeer. Rocketeer.
And the funny thing is, right, it killed us. And you said, why is it shooting at us? Why has it just come after us? And what you hadn't known, and I told you afterwards, I started shooting at it, thinking like my little pop-up gun could take it down. And you were like, why has it come for us? We've not alerted it. Who's done that? It was me shooting at it. I literally
saw it fly over and start launching rockets here. And I was like, right, I'll take it. I'll have a go then, because I've never even seen one. That's the first time I've seen one in a game. And I was like, I didn't know, obviously they take far more damage than a level 6 fucking newbie. So I'm shooting at it going, I'm about to die, aren't I? And then it just got blown up. I thought, right, that's that then.
And it's because I shot at it, and then tried to run away, But
But even then, when those things happen, I think if you go into it going, I'm just going to lose all the shit I've got, if that's your mindset, it works.
Yeah. I like the idea that you can obviously get downed, you can get looted, but then you've got those free loadouts, which are going to be rubbish, right? Potentially, but it's not, it's something that's going to happen, but it's not like you start with literally nothing and then have to scavenge for something else.
I got a couple of quests earlier where I had to take out a specific gun to take down some stuff and some grenades to take down some stuff, and died. That's when the Rocketeer killed me and I lost it all. Okay. And I'm like, so now I've had to go and get more grenades, make a gun so I can do that quest. But it's fine. It's, it's just a fun loop. Oh yeah, I really like it. It looks pretty. It runs really well when you don't be a dick about your internet settings. But I can't wait to get on that and do some more.
Yeah. So this week we should get some going.
Yes, absolutely. You'll hear more about Arc Raiders in the future. Yeah. So I'm going to go through mine in a bit of a different order. So obviously Arc Raiders, and then there's a couple of Game Pass games I've been playing. One was, and I say playing, I'm using this term really loosely, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, or as I've now renamed it, Ninja Gaiden Rage Bait, because
Rage.
Just fucking. So I was playing it.
I'm surprised you played it. Yeah.
I quite enjoyed Shinobi. I quite enjoyed the demo I played of that. I'm not so much that I'd buy it, but I don't mind the 8-bit, the kind of 16-bit side scrollers. And it's the controls feel really good. It's not. Well, I say that up until a point. So I get into the training dojo on the first, you do the first mission, story opener, where you play the lead, not the lead, but another character who dies. Spoiler alert. And then you play the opening dojo mission where Ryo Hayabasa is basically saying to you, see how you get through this mission. And it's just training. There's no enemies. They're just dummies and stuff that you're fighting. And you've got this jump. I can't remember, it's a hurricane jump or something. You can basically bounce off of projectiles and enemies. So you can, if they're throwing something, you can use them as your double jump. Effectively being able to stay in the air for as long as you want, I guess. But there's this one jump, and people who've played this must know it. There's this one jump in the demo where you're supposed to jump off this thing and reach this ledge. And I tried for about 5 minutes straight, and I could not do it. And I'm looking around going, there's nothing, I'm not missing something. Am I? Something there's not, just couldn't do it. And so I just quit. And I was like, fuck you, Ninja Gaiden. No, I'm not playing anymore. That's it. Delete.
That reminds me, do you remember that guy, I think he was a journalist who was trying to play the demo of, or the tutorial of Cuphead? Do Do you remember? And he couldn't do. There was one bit where he had to jump and dash, and he couldn't do that, and he was literally for an hour.
Zero score. That's a 0 score for me.
Yeah, I've got that in my head.
That was me sitting there playing like, I mean, it must be more than 5 minutes. I was trying it for a while. I got so frustrated. I was like, well, fuck you, Ninja Game. I'm not playing anymore. I have also been playing, I'm going to leave this one, but I've also been playing Ghost of Yotai still. I'm still in love with that game. It's still very beautiful. It's still very amazing. It's still, if you haven't played it and you've got a PS5, what the fuck are you doing? Because it's amazing. Go and play Ghost of Yotai. And the final one, and I'm going to do a told you so, Joey, because on our episode, Joey said I would hate it. I have fallen in love with Death Stranding.
Yeah.
And I just can't work out why, because it's another game that on paper I should absolutely hate. And I'd played it before. I'd gotten up to the bit where you have to bear with me if you haven't played the game. You have to take your mum to an incinerator. It's that kind of game. It's
the bit where you have to walk, right?
It's a Kojima Productions game. It's the bit where you have to walk. And I've got way past that. You know, I've finished Act 2. I'm on to Act 3, and it's just stunning. It's just such a well put together game. It's cinematic. It's beautiful. I had an emotional attachment to walking across these open, they were like moors. And I was saying to you, I used to walk with my dad every summer. We'd go away on a camping adventure for a couple of weeks when we did the Pennines and we do, you know, the Yorkshire moors, and we did all these things. And it just took me back. And and then it's so stirring when you're moving across these landscapes, and the music by Low Roar, or, you know, it just builds. And then the camera pans out and you're like, this is majestic, man. And that loop of just sorting out your cargo and trying to, you know, find the right way of doing it. And I love it. I love it. Well done, Hideo Kojima, because I did not think that would work for me. And yeah.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because I remember saying to you the same thing, that when it originally released, because I didn't have PlayStation, I thought, who would want to play that? You know, that doesn't sound like a great game. And then obviously, you know, it got reviews. It's been out for a year or two. Then it came to the Xbox, and I bought it initially. One, because I was intrigued by it. Two, I think they launched it half price. So it was like £18, and it's a director's cut.
Bargain.
And I also thought, you know, I wanted to support PlayStation games coming over to the Xbox, so I bought it. And I don't know what it was. It got its hooks into me, and I said to you, there may be a number of things. One, like you said, beautiful scenery. It's, you know, it's just for quite an empty game, it's a pretty game to look at.
Yeah.
It's, apart from when you keep falling over, it's soothing. There's a bit of a soothing element to it. The music in it was just brilliant. When that kicks in, there's some really good songs from the group in there. And obviously, it's got the weird story that as you're going through it.
As you go through it, I'm waiting to see it, because I've heard Joey and Tim and the guys try and explain the story.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to forget what they've said so I could piece it together myself. There are a couple of frustrations. The menu system's awful. Like just navigating that menu system, and like I said, it dumps you out back onto the game when you actually just want to back out into something else. And it's not a deal breaker for me, but it's a weird thing to say. For a Hideo Kojima game, the stealth is shit. Like, apart from where it wants you to be stealthy. So there's a bit where one of the missions, they ask you to infiltrate a factory.
Yeah.
And the enemy placement is in such a specific way. You're going, well, this is a tutorial for stealth. And I get it, right? And that works really well. If you're trying to infiltrate a mule camp and be stealthy, you have got two hopes. Because the minute you take down one of those guys or one spots you, everyone's just like, right, swarm in that area. They come from fucking miles away. They run after you. It's just not happening.
I did it stealthy. And I think I said to you, I don't think I played it the proper way. And by that, I meant even on the normal missions, I didn't meticulously work out where I was going to go and work out everything. Auto load the the packages. You push the button, best sort, and that's where I'm going. I'm just walking in that line.
Just go to a straight line and see what happens.
The times I kept falling backwards, I was like, no, pick everything up. I'm going that way. So,
but it's good because some of the deliveries obviously ask you to deliver stuff completely undamaged.
Yes,
and if you're falling over all the time, that ain't happening. I am just gobsmacked by how much I'm and I know that and Arc Raiders. So two of the games on this week's list, along with a bunch of other games I've mentioned before, Dredge and Dave the Diver and all. I owe that to this podcast, because I would never have dreamt of picking them up if we hadn't had discussions about this thing. And thank you to Joey and the boys for their episode on Death Stranding, which made me want to go back in the first place. And I've been looking for someone to play on the Xbox because it's been abandoned for a little while. That monolith that sits in my living room.
My Xbox will start getting some use now with Arc Raiders.
Yeah, so it's now getting some love thanks to those guys. So yeah, cheers GCP boys. I'm really enjoying Death Stranding.
And just to echo that as well, just to bring up my mate Pete again, who left a similar comment a couple of weeks ago on an episode that he said listening to this has made him want to play some different games again. Because I think I said at the time he got very much into what was that online shooter? Damn it!
The Destiny.
No, it's not that one. I think was it the Titanfall people? No, it's. Oh my God, I'm going to look up after.
This is a fun game. Keep going.
No, you'll have to cut this out. Anyway, it was one of those online shooters. He loved it. He could have stopped playing it. And I think he said listening to us talk about, all the games we go through to try some. Because again, there's some brilliant games out there and some that you think you might not like. Look at, like yourself with, Death Stranding and, even to some extent, Dave the Diver. We both thought it was a one-note game initially.
I can guarantee you I would never have picked that up.
Apex Legends. That was the
Apex
game.
Legends. That is Titanfall Studio. Yeah. I just couldn't remember the name of it until you said it. So now I can't cut it because I'm going to have to keep it in because now this makes sense. Fuck's sake, Dan. Could have done a voiceover. But you're right. It is, you can teach an old dog new tricks, or at least an old dog how to play new games. I mean, that's probably how it is.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Shall we dive into a bit of news today?
Yeah, let's do that.
You were pausing then, like, I'm not really sure. Shall we? Should we not? Fuck it. Let's not bother.
Let's do
I don't think we need to do it.
Let's do some news.
So, I am going to start off with somebody who's been having a bit of a shit week. So if you think you've been having a bad week, just thank God you're not Ubisoft. Ubisoft. Because their shares plummeted to an all-time lowest. I mean, I think they've been dropping quite a bit over the past few years, but an all-time low of over 14 years after it recently announced its restructuring, which was centered basically on cancellations and generative AI. Is that word again? AI.
I've got to find that quote. Yeah.
You've got a quote?
No, there was a quote. You sent it to me. I was on the train coming home and you sent me the article and then there was a particular quote within it, which I just... I cut and paste to you. Sorry, you carry on and I'll find it. No,
so this is an article from PC Gamer, but essentially, when the stock market closed a couple of days ago, they were down to €4.06. So that's about $4.80 a share, which is way down. So about 34% down on where they were previously. Obviously, those so if you weren't aware, they've cancelled 6 projects, only one of which they've named, which was Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake. Funnily enough, they've delayed 7, and one of which they did name, and that was Black Flag. So the Black Flag remake, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or Resynced. I can't remember what it's called. Something like that. Maybe there's a pun in there about boats. Resynced.
No, I thought it was I thought it was a pun on the Animus. Although that's not going to be in there,
but
isn't
I was
it?
doing the sync because you can sync. But thanks, Dan, for ruining that for me. If you explain it, it's not fucking funny. Well, I mean, you can fall out. But weirdly, it's since come to like one of the games that hasn't been cancelled is the one game everyone thought had already been cancelled multiple times, and that's Beyond Good and Evil 2. So that's been in development
since 2008, right?
It's all a bit mental. So these guys have now split their houses into, I think Ubisoft have now built, I think it's 4 core studios focused on different elements. One will be live service games. One will be core strategies, core to their business, tentpoles. So games like Assassin's Creed and things like that. And then they've got another couple of studios that focus on some other stuff. So I mean, it's interesting. Isn't interesting. I mean, it's just more shittery in the game industry, isn't it?
It's interesting in the sense of, look, I was saying to you earlier, I was having an argument with myself about a number of these news articles. And
you were.
And I said, look, as gamers, I guess we're not entitled for everything we want to come out or to happen. However, it's the reason, I think, why things don't happen. Like, and I found a quote, I took out the article. Part of it was because of, and this is so corporate, right? Right sizing of the organization and more investment in things like player facing generative AI. Now, if that's the reason why we're not getting a Sands of Time remake, that sucks. So it's, feel for some of the people there, obviously, who, if they've been affected by this, but I think that's why the anger, I guess, from like yourself and me is the reason why these things happen, right? And it doesn't,
totally.
It feels very jargony and very wishy-washy what they've said here. And let's see what happens in the next couple of years with their output, I guess.
Yeah, and this will have come with, restructuring of roles and I suspect redundancies and restructuring of everything but another name, which is a return to office policy, which we all know is another way to restructure your organisation, because there have been a big bunch of people there who aren't interested in returning. So that, they're doing all this, and it's just not another good look for the video game industry after so many, with Microsoft doing what they've been doing. And I have got the experiences. So the creative houses that they've created now, this restructuring as it is. So they've got Vantage Studios, which is their kind of tier one. This is their brand studios. This is Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six, those types of games that, make them money hand over fist as single player experiences or more broadly. You've got Creative House 2, which is competitive and cooperative shooters. So think Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell's in there. I mean, Splinter Cell hasn't been a multiplayer for ages. And the Division, Division 3, obviously in development still. You've got Creative House 3, which is a select sharp live action experiences. So Brawlhauler, I had no idea why that game keeps popping up, but yeah, Brawlhauler, For Honor, Riders Republic, Skull and Bones. I can't believe they're still carrying on with Skull and Bones.
That was a terrible one, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was Black Flag without the good stuff.
Yeah,
it was basically what it was. And then you've got the crew in there as well. And then you've got Creative House 4, which is immersive fantasy worlds and narrative-driven universes. So that's Anno, Beyond Good and Evil, Might and Magic, Prince of Persia, and Rayman. And then Creative House 5 is reclaiming, as they've put it, reclaiming a strong position in casual and family-friendly games. So these are the Hasbro portfolio, so things like Uno, things like that.
Monopoly,
Hungry Shark, Invincible, Guarding the Globe, which I've never heard of, Just Dance, Catch Up portfolio, and Colibri portfolio. Oh, Uno sits on its own, sorry, it's not part of Hasbro. So they're the 5 creative houses. Look, I'm not suggesting that Ubisoft didn't need a restructure, but there are ways to restructure, and then there are ways to restructure. And unfortunately, I think they took the latter as a way to do it.
Yeah, and again, it's I think it's the why. If it's because they want to invest in those 2 letters AI, then we'll see if that's the right play, because we've had stories last week we were talking about where that bubble could be bursting. As long as it means they're producing some original output as well, because it sounds like those 4 areas have got, well, at least 2 of them, 3 of them have got well-established franchises in that. So if they're not just going to keep pumping those out, you want to see something original as well, right? Because
all day long,
as much as I've loved Far Cry and I've loved Assassin's Creed, when it gets to Far Cry 34, I might be Far Cried out.
Far Cry out of Far Cry 4, to be honest. Well, what was the one with the religious one, the number 5 with the I couldn't even bring myself to finish that.
The Seed, Joseph Seed, wasn't it? I think the cult. The cult.
Yeah, the cult. It went downhill from 3, to be honest. Okay, let's stay with depressing news on the gaming front. So this is, and I suspect, not to get political, so please, we are not either way, but more than 40, I think it was 46 in total, US Democrats have called for a thorough investigation of the EA Saudi-led buyout over risks of layoffs, studio closures and coordinated anti-labour practices. Nothing at all to do with the president's son-in-law being involved. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with that. This again is an article taken from PC Gamers. Thanks to those guys. So they've expressed profound concern about the foreign influence and national security risks that could result from the Saudi-led takeover of Electronic Arts. So this is more great news for the video games industry, where EA as the huge buyout by a conglomerate and partly led by a Saudi group. just not a good look again, Dan. I'm just not the Democrat, sorry, but the whole seedy business of this buyout.
Yeah, and like I said, it's almost, let's hope it's just political posturing rather than there is something more at play here. But and it's something, to be honest, we've not really picked up on it. Here you've got the Rockstar have had sort of some practices, some labour practices as well, and union, etc. And I think it was during the last story where you made me think that it's stories like that makes us, I think gamers get so angry and upset because it's our hobby and it's a fun thing, and then stuff like this make you realise that it's a business and that people are, they're of course, right, but they're in it for the money and making a quick buck. But
it's all about the bottom line.
But for us, we can't wait to have that Arc Raiders experience and then tell our mates and then hear what the other pods are going to talk about. So yeah, not good.
I worry about what this means for EA in the long term, and I worry how much, I don't want to call it AI slot, but how much it's going to be, thrown in, and how much junk they're going to come out with just to make a quick buck. That's the biggest concern. Not to mention the impact on the people in the studios and things like that. Because right now they'll all be sitting there worried about what that means for them in the future, because inevitably it will mean more layoffs, more nastiness and corruption going through the games industry, which is the last thing any of us want who love this hobby. Right. Let's do yours, and then I'll jump in with a bit of a good news story.
Okay, yeah. So I just picked a couple of quick ones that I saw today, actually. And so in my head, I've been thinking about doing an episode, and it's on our plan, around the whole achievements and trophy system on the consoles. And look, when the Xbox first did the achievements, it was a fun thing. It can be competitive, but we were saying now for a couple of years now, don't really pay attention to them. You're playing the game and the achievements are just something there, you can have a look at. But so I've got this from Windows Central, and they have got data that shows that basically 39% of Xbox games released in 2025 were what they call spam easy gamer score titles. So they're saying there was 2,262 total releases, and 881 are what they called shovelware titles. So these are ones where you can get like the whole achievements in 5 minutes, and that led me
in Kong.
Yeah, well, there was
King Kong
there was an Avatar one as well, wasn't there? Where I think,
was it?
Literally, you just had to do the same move at the start of the game. You just, I don't know, you held like the controller left and the X button, say, and do that for 5 minutes, and you got all the achievements because it was based on battles or hits or combos or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so these are those quick games. I'm sure we've seen them all where you can get all the 1,000 points quickly. And I was thinking, and I said, shoot, this is another one I was arguing with myself about. Firstly, my thing was, so what? Because I'm thinking, well, gamer score isn't linked to anything. You're not getting money for it. You're not getting discounts. There's no in-game bonus. But then I'm thinking, but we want to encourage good games on our system. And if this encourages people just to put quick slop out there, for want of a better term. So it's an interesting, and that's the only reason I've put this in, because it'd be great to hear what people think around achievements. And look, and this is at Xbox. I know, I think Sony have had similar, but I think Sony have had a clamp down in recent years on getting rid of or not allowing these types of games. But yeah,
better QA.
Yeah, and I think it's just, why are you releasing this game?
Yeah.
Right? It's
what's it for?
So just to say, across games, add-ons and DLC, more than 64,000 achievements worth over 3.5 million gamer score were made available to unlock. And the True Achievement website estimates that 21,601 of those achievements, accounting for over 2 million gamer score, came from shovelware titles alone. So yeah, I guess doesn't matter, but if it's a quality thing, then yes, it does.
Yeah. I'm surprised the percentage isn't higher, to be honest. There's some of the shit I've seen out there.
Yeah. And I have one other, because I think we've mentioned this before. So I've got this from, what's the website? WCCFtech.com. So the headline.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, the headline is what grabbed me. So it was around half of Oblivion remastered players on the PS5 played for less than 15 hours. And it says nostalgia is powerful, but only so much. And we've said that ourselves. So we've said both you and I kind of stopped playing the remaster. Totally. And I was hyped for it. I was really looking forward to it. It's one of my favourite.
Probably about that time as well. It was probably between 10 and 15 hours I stopped.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favourite games, along with another little-known game called Mass Effect. But it's one of my favourite games, and I've completed Oblivion about 4 times, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm Oblivioned out, but also I don't know if it lost a little character in the remaster for me. But yeah, 15 hours, it feels like people dropped it.
For me, I think it's a time. I think it's a time thing. I don't think it lost anything. I think everything else has surpassed it. There's been not everything that's been launched since then, but a lot of things, mechanics, and the way systems work in games. And I just think they've grown, and we've grown with them. And then to step back, I was thinking about this when we had the conversation. I wouldn't have picked up my old Oblivion disc and stuck it in the machine and started playing it. Yeah, I only played it because there was a remaster and it looked a bit prettier. But everything else underlying that prettiness remained the same. Yeah. And I think, well, if I'd have put my disc in, my disc from whatever it was 14 years ago or whatever, I'd have been just as disappointed because, it didn't look as pretty, but...
All right, would you, or do you subconsciously allow it to be a bit difficult because it is an old game, whereas now you're playing a remastered game that looks pretty, has just come out, and to have the dated mechanics is harder to swallow?
I think this is a me problem though, but I think it's the same reason I struggle with retro games.
Right.
He says having just turned his Mac Mini into a retro machine, by the way, over the weekend. Which now, so I've got a retro machine that will basically just run Mario and Zelda.
I'll be around then, yeah.
Yeah. And it works brilliantly. Yeah. But I can see myself turning it on maybe twice a year because it's not a thing for me. I love the new stuff. I'm a, day oneer, and I'm just,
But you see, but I loved Oblivion, and I've played the original version, and I wonder
you used to fucking play Mass Effect then.
Yeah, but I still do
every year.
But and I still do. But I wonder though if it's because it's shining new. If I played the original, would it be fun? I mean, I'll be honest. You're right, where things have moved along, like mission structure, mechanics. I mean, this is going to sound bizarre, but the thing I really dislike, and I remember disliking in the original, is the Oblivion gates, which I know obviously in a game called Oblivion.
I did 2 of them in the remake and got bored.
I wish you could just skip those.
They were all the same. It's just rinse and repeat.
And I kept getting lost. But yeah, I just wonder if, for me anyway, then, if having a shiny lick of paint on it makes some of the outdated mechanics harder to swallow because it looks like it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point. Yeah, you can't put lipstick on a pig, polished turd, whatever. It's still, not that Oblivion was dead. I think at the time it was brilliant, horse armor, but I think it's dated poorly since then. And for some people, please, let us know in the comments. I know that's not true for you guys, but for certain people, for me, I feel it has. Gaming View, not a Dan View, not Dan P View.
Not Dan P View. Yeah.
That's fair. Right, let's move on to one final news story. A bit of good news, hopefully, I think. So, Rockstar apparently appears to have allowed a terminally ill fan to play GTA 6 early. I love these stories. I love it when they get to watch a movie early, or they get to watch, because there's something heartwarming about it makes you believe in humanity a little bit, where there's something so precious. And of course, there's going to be billions of NDAs to sign and things like this. But a company where, particularly this kind of company, and more recently, some of the news that's been surrounding this company, for them to actually, and maybe it was just, I don't know, the cynic in me could go, well, they just did it for a bit of good publicity. But apparently, there is a an Ubisoft Toronto, sorry, this story is from GameSpot. An Ubisoft Toronto developer, Anthony Armstrong, shared the story of a terminally ill family member seeking to play Grand Theft Auto 6 before its release date. He clearly only had a limited period of time to live, and he'd reached out on several social media platforms to ask if that could be made possible. Now, whilst it's not confirmed, he did post a subsequent update online to say they spoke to Rockstar's Toronto office and said that they got great news. He said, that's all he can say, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, you know why that's all he can say, because if people were aware of the person, the next thing would be, tell us all about it, and as I said, NDAs, etc. So, yeah, a lovely thing for these guys. And as we said, Rockstar haven't been prolific in their good news stories recently with the... some of the stories around not letting them form. God damn! No, my brain's gone.
Union.
Thank you. Yeah. Just the way you said that, looking at me, you're looking at me all angry, like he's fucking forgotten the word union.
I only said it about 5 minutes ago. That's why.
This episode's going well. Yeah. So, union busting from Rockstar. So, but positive news story. But is it cynically just a
my take on it is, look, and I hadn't seen this until you said it. And so look, obviously at the heart of it, there's a tragic story there of a terminally ill person. So, and whether you look at it cynically and say they've done this for publicity, for me, that's almost irrelevant, because the end result is a huge fan of the game who probably thought they wouldn't see it has got to play it. And I'm trying to think the feeling and the joy that they would have got from that, to me and to his family or their family, sorry, outweighs the fact whether we look at it. And my heart and head wants to say it wasn't cynical.
Yeah.
But either way, someone's got that experience that they weren't sure they were going to get, and that's what I'm taking away from the story. I mean, we do see this sometimes. I mean, it's not the same there, but Borderlands, I remember there was a huge fan of the game who passed away, and I think they put him in the character as a character in the game, didn't they? And again, it's for all the bad news that we've said, and this company as well have courted. These things sort of make you sort of sit back and say, well, sometimes they can do the right thing.
Yeah. It's a bit like playing Ark Raiders. You go into it hoping that humanity aren't assholes and then realise very quickly that's just not true.
Yeah.
Thanks to all those dicks he shot me. Right. Let's do a little advert. I'm going to let you do this one, Dan.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Josh and gang over at Talking Smack. So firstly, they are wonderful Firstly, they are apparently not. Firstly, they are wonderful people, but also, the wonderful Josh. He bought me a little treat this week. He gifted me Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition on Steam. So this didn't sway the advert, so you can't bribe us. We were already going to play it.
What's happening? Sponsoring. Is that what he's doing?
Ironically, we're already going to play it.
I would like.
So if you hear us advertising Ferrari next week, but go listen to the gang over at Talking Smack.
Hey Josh, I'm finally ready to do something fun every Wednesday.
Alex, finally, we're going to talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more, right?
Yes, but we're also going to talk Star Trek.
Make it so, my friend. Catch Talking Smack every Wednesday on your podcatcher of choice. We will see you there, Smackheads.
All right, we are back in the room for the final segment of this week's show, which is all about that game that's hitting its 40th anniversary this February. That is The Legend of Zelda, the one and only, the first of its ilk on the NES. Or previously the Famicom. 40 years, Dan. Can you believe that shit? 4-0. Yes.
4-0 based on it being 1986. And for people just getting this, Dan and I had a bit of a falling out during the recording of the intro.
Yeah, stay tuned to the end of the episode if you want to see that. That upset me. Yes. Released in 1986, but clearly I said 7 because, that's when people would have bought it off the shelves. I was trying to be Anyway, right. So this comes from a time when video game development didn't take forever. GTA 6. So the actual game development. Yeah.
Half-Life 3.
I don't know what you're talking about. That game's dead to me. So the actual development actually took place far too soon. Took place between 1984 and 1986. So it was a fairly short development time. And all right, when you've only got 128 bits to play with, you're probably going to be able to come up with something quite quickly, right? Originally released on the Famicom in Japan, and then moved on to the NES, which was the cartridge-based system, obviously, that we saw over here in good old Blighty and in the US. So, look, first of all, Dan, what's your experience with Zelda? You know, not just the Legend of Zelda, but any kind of Zelda-esque thing.
You know what? Not much, which is funny, though, because obviously Zelda, Legend of Zelda is such an iconic name in gaming. And there's been so many iterations. I think the issue has been, other than the Game Boy, of which I played this.
Yes. Yeah, that's not an actual, that's lifelike cartridge.
That does look like it, yeah, but no, it's Lego. It's Lego. Look, which, again, thank you. You bought that for me for my birthday. The Lego Game Boy, not just that. But yeah,
that's all I got you.
That's the only game I played. But I think it's because other than the Game Boy, I bypassed ultimately the consoles as a kid. So I didn't have Nintendo, I didn't have Sega, but you can't deny the impact that this game has had on the industry. And I think that's why I was really keen to sort of have this episode, because there's not too many games where you might not have played it, but you feel you know it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it is one of those characters that, you know, well, it's funny. Everyone says Zelda and they immediately think of Link.
Yes.
Zelda's obviously the princess, but everyone goes, oh yeah, the little elf dude. And you're like, no, that's Link. Yeah. So Legend of Zelda. So in 1984, Shigi Miyamoto, he of Zelda fame, and Takashi Tezuka, they were leading a small team for Nintendo called R&D4, which was their research and development team. So they're essentially, you know, they're an R&D team. They're looking at what could happen in the industry, what sort of things people would be interested in. And they were simultaneously working on two very different titles. One being Super Mario Brothers, which we all know and love. And again, I'm sure we'll do a deep dive on one of those at some point. And the other being The Legend of Zelda. So these were polar opposites in terms of the approach and the philosophies behind them. So Mario was the dash, as it was called. So this is the linear, fast, reflex-based, side scroller, platformer like we know and love, right? Well, it's not now, obviously, it's more of a 3D. But Zelda was kind of the miniature garden, or Hakoniya in Japanese. So this is about exploratory, contemplative, spatial awareness, like understanding where things are and really kind of finding things out for yourself, as opposed to being told, jump here, hit this tortoise, Jesus Christ, hit this turtle on the head, you know, throw his shell at things. So, yeah. What's interesting about this game, though, it was originally designed as a dungeon maker. So, you know, this was, if you think, what's the Mario Studio or whatever it's called, where you know, where you get, so think of that. That's how it was originally designed. But as they were going through Mario Maker, as they were going through this, the team realized that it would be more fun to explore them than it would to actually
just make them.
just make them. Like, because once you make them, I know where the things are.
Yeah.
So quite a fascinating approach to design, and quite fascinating that they were working on these two very different games at the same time. I mean, you know, we love Shiggy and the work he does. I mean, he's still a stalwart at Nintendo. Everything has his stamp or influence on it. I think even the latest Donkey Kong and Mario games don't go anywhere without him signing off on them and having played them and things like that. Certainly Donkey Kong, that's true of. And I would suspect Mario's his baby, right? So it's definitely going to be that as well. And again, there's a fascinating interview with him that Ian Lee did as part of his gaming show that we showed a clip of on the Ian Lee episode, where he's, you know, Shigeru Miyamoto's drawing a picture of the cameraman who's filming them as Mario. He's got this real playful kind of nature about him. So you can really see that when you think about how this stuff came about, you can kind of see how it happened. So So Shigeru Miyamoto was the kind of driving force behind the concept and how it happened, and that is, and he's told this story before, but it stems from his childhood. So he lived in rural Kyoto and in a place called Sonobe, and he used to explore that. In his childhood, he would explore frequently in and around it. And he tells a story of how, in one part he found a cave and he explored that with a lantern. Another one, he found this hidden lake while he was exploring. And it was that, he explains it as that controlled fear and that way of exploring his environment. So it's still, still a frightening thing to, as a kid, to be exploring around not knowing what could happen, but also that awe of discovery and finding things. And that's the thing that became that core gameplay loop of Zelda, not really knowing what could come next and what could be seen. So he didn't want a massive open world, but he wanted a very dense world. So a place where things could be discovered, and every screen felt like a distinct room in this sprawling garden, hence the name that it was, which was the miniature garden. So that's how they framed this. So yeah, and then you had his co-lead Takashi Tezuka. So he brought with him a literary sense. So this was the guy who brought in influences from like Tolkien and authors like that who where this fantasy element started playing into the games, the swords and shield element, and the Sword of Legend and the Triforce and everything. Really, it sprung from this wellspring of influence from the fantasy genres that Takashi was reading. So it really was kind of a lightning in a bottle moment where it was like, well, we're going to do this thing, but here's how we're going to, here's the influences that are going to make it come to life. So yeah, I mean, I've played pretty much most of the Zelda games, I think. And you really do sense that. I was saying to you earlier that I think, the closest in comparison to the Legend of Zelda, where you start off with literally nothing. And I did have a go on it at the weekend on my retro machine, just to remind myself, you don't even start with a sword. You literally appear and you don't have anything. Yeah. You put your name in and then you're like, what do I do? There's no instructions. There's nothing. There's a cave. And I was saying that, you can really see that influence on one of the more recent Zelda games in Breath of the Wild, where you literally wake up and you come out of this tomb that you've been entombed in, and you have no weapon. You have, you literally have nothing apart from a slate, I think, like a tablet.
Yeah.
And you just go and explore.
Well, I've got a couple of things on that. And one is, it would have been really helpful if I'd have copied this into my notes. But I was looking earlier.
Always helpful.
At a timeline of the games, and the original game is actually in the middle, isn't it? If you were to play it chronologically, they've now sort of retrofit it to be almost one of the later games, which I find fascinating. And I just wanted to touch on kind of what you were saying in the intro is, and I said it to you today, that again, another reason for me being fascinated by this and games like this is, one, where the idea comes from, and two, would they have known, or did they create it envisaging a massive franchise all these years later, 40 years later, that two people like us would be talking about it, having had like 15 odd games behind it. And if you think about it, it was in a time where there was only so many games, so many systems out, and the world, you as a gamer didn't really know too much what other games were, or like the Japanese games were, because it was either import. You didn't have the internet. Yep, shocker. Back when we were kids, we didn't have the internet, and so it was kind of a whole different world when it came to gaming and these types of games, and when they made it to our shores, right? And
yeah, totally.
It's just all that. And sorry, and I was also looking at games. I looked at sort of legacy, so we can come on to it later. But what this game. And it's a number of the things you said, how it's potentially fed to the games we've got now. And what I was going to say was, there's one. I mean, do you want me to do these now, or?
Wherever you feel they fit best, Danny boy.
Well, because it's like, so let's have a look how Zelda defined and what its legacy was. So it was saying, so basically helped define real-time combat, puzzle solving, exploration, and inventory based progression. They say now, and if you look at what's descended from that, God of War, which I was talking about earlier, it's got those ingredients: Darksiders, Okami, Tomb Raider, and early Assassin's Creed games. So, not going to say that they've looked to Zelda for it, but Zelda planted the seeds.
It's the right
evolution.
timeline, isn't it? That time frame of, the people, you think of the people who would have developed those at the age they are now, there must have been potentially some form of influence. And like you say, it's not to say without Zelda they wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see, Zelda might have inspired something else that then inspired that, or, because it's an incredible game.
And the other list I've got is, so I think you said it as well, so no quest log, no mini-map, no waypoint arrows.
No.
And so they say, and that has also then resurfaced in both Breath of the Wild, but also Elden Ring, they say, could that have come from it? And games nowadays where you don't get those tutorials. Again, not saying that they've looked at Legend of Zelda for that, but look at a game 40 years ago was already doing that. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I do sometimes. I mean, a lot of the Elden Ring reviews actually cited Breath of the Wild as, an inspiration for, they played it and kind of gone, it's clearly taken it from something, because you come out of this cave and there's a world, go and explore. Which not many, some get. Oblivion did it, right? There are games that do it, but don't give you any detail or instruction. And what's telling, Oblivion, for instance, gives you an instruction, go and find this guy to do this thing. Elden Ring gives you nothing. There's a guy on a horse down there who's going to knock your head off, by the way, if you go near him. But not even that is explicit. So they're kind of making this comparative between Breath of the Wild, but the irony is Breath of the Wild was really trying to recreate what they did in The Legend of Zelda, which is the game we're talking about now, right?
Yeah, and I think I found that, in my notes, I've scribbled a quote here that said, Nintendo devs asked at the time when they were developing that, what did it feel like to play the original Zelda when nobody knew anything about it? So again, it's just a great, it's these kind of stories about what makes a good game great, and it's these kind of decisions and then going back to something, like I said, 40 years ago. It's incredible.
So just what I wanted, let's talk about the characters. So the two main characters in Zelda are obviously Zelda herself, the princess, and Link. So Zelda, interestingly, named because Miyamoto was fascinated with the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author, whose name was Zelda. And for no other reason than he thought it sounded quite mystical and famous. And he was like, I like that. So it became the name. And now you've got Robin Williams' daughters called Zelda. And, it's certainly become a footnote in pop culture. But Link, interestingly, was literally called Link because he was the link between the player and the game world. It's as literal as that.
Love it. What's the meaning behind it?
There is no meaning. His name's Link. He is the link. He's the link between the two. So this game was also incredibly innovative, and it brought around two things that we totally take for granted these days, and quite often moan if one of them doesn't exist. So the first thing it did, and the reason it did this was really because this launched on a system which was the Famicom Disk System, or the FDS, in Japan. Sorry, I should have said on the 21st of February 1986, which used 3-inch floppy disks, right? Similar to floppy disks, right? Larger storage, so 112 kilobytes of storage, and the compared to the original cartridge, which were only 40k. But these disks were rewritable because they, like old storage, were magnetic, so you could save your progress on the game. Right? Which gave birth to file select. So you could basically save your game and select the file you wanted to go back to. And it had it also had a decent sound chip in it. The original, we should also mention, because the sound on that game is, if you've heard and we will get onto the soundtrack, but if you heard the theme and title of, it's a very famous piece of music. You'll have heard it at the beginning of the episode as well. So, which brought, so the sound chip brought around deeper bass and things like that into it. But the most fascinating thing was you were actually able to, save your game in the Japanese version. Now that posed a problem for the US and UK or EU versions, which launched in 1987 in July. Told you I was right, Dan. Because they didn't have a disk system. They had the cartridge. So they had a problem they had to solve, because this game revolved around the fact you could save your progress, because it was so vast, it wasn't vast, but it was sprawling in terms of it was very dense, and there were lots of things that you needed to do, characters to interact with, those sorts of things. So the way they solved this, they included in the cartridge a 3-volt lithium battery, tiny little battery soldered to the board, the PCB. And that basically powered, its only job was to power static RAM.
And I'm breaking it here, but I've kind of opened up. I just want to take that away.
No, you've not broken it.
On the Lego, I know it's the Game Boy one, but he's had the battery.
Got the little battery.
They've replicated that in it. Now I know it's a Game Boy cartridge, but they had a similar thing there. Yeah.
It's
so I'm going to put this back together now.
And there is another cartridge that comes with that doesn't have that in it, by the way. So in the Lego, which is fascinating as well. So that was the only way they could keep that data alive while the console was off. You had a little battery that charged the static RAM that held your saved data. And the fascinating reason why, when you powered off that game, you had to hold the reset button on the NES. And the reason you had to do that was because the console's internal voltage would spike and would basically write garbage data to the save chip, to the SRAM. So it would corrupt your progress. So a risk of doing it. I'm not saying it happened every time. So so essentially this is the first game that had saves.
Yeah.
You could save your game.
Yeah.
Albeit don't turn off your power without holding reset.
And just to reiterate on that. So the Famicom one, we are talking about, my screen on it, it's gone. But we're talking about 128 kilobytes, right? Which
128K,
which
so
is
tiny amounts.
And yeah, if you think about it, again, I know, look, 1986 is not like there was no tech, right? But just think about that. We were having save states on like console games. It's incredible. It's incredible back then.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think what's even... Yeah, I know a lot of people, particularly people who enjoy our hobby and things like that, will be familiar with that concept of the save game, Zelda being the first one. I know we've certainly spoken about it on previous episodes. And the one thing I hadn't realised while researching this was this was also responsible for an innovation which, as I said, I think we take for granted and get a bit frustrated when it doesn't exist. And that is essentially the earliest take on New Game Plus.
Oh yes, yeah.
So Zelda, in what is one of the happiest accidents in gaming history, essentially, when they coded this game and put it onto their 128 kilobytes of data, they realised they'd only used about half of the capacity. And Miyamoto, and I think this speaks volumes, and people who are familiar with his work will understand him. He basically said, "Well, don't let that space go to waste." So he ordered his team to rearrange the map data into a more complex version of the game, harder. So, but because some of the tiles were fixed and they couldn't change the layout of the walls, they changed the content. So they made some of the walls you could walk through. They moved the heart containers. They swapped enemy spawn locations, made certain enemies come in sooner and harder. So they basically invented New Game Plus.
It's incredible, really, isn't it?
It's mad.
I love that. And again, I love the stories where things have happened by just circumstance.
Happy accident.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So for those of you who have got the game or want to play the game, I will tell you now, if you name your file Zelda, that is a backdoor. So your file name, when you bring up your character name, if you name the game Zelda, it will open Second Quest immediately for you. So there you go. Don't say we never give you nothing.
There you go. God, we're like a cheat page in the old computer magazines. Look at that. Yeah.
But why they did that was basically they did that for a shortcut for the QA testers so that they could get into it without having to finish the game.
Of course. And it all makes sense, right? It's very logical. Very logical.
100%. Well, I promised you I'd talk a little bit about the soundtrack earlier, unless you've got something you want to interject with.
No, I've just managed to put my cartridge back together again.
Okay, I'm glad you fixed your Lego then. Do you want the instructions? I've still got them. So originally the soundtrack, or certainly the theme for this, was going to be that of Torvill and Dean fame, Bolero. So the composition Bolero was originally going to be the theme. So this is Maurice Ravel's Bolero. So that was because it was as Miyamoto framed it, the march towards adventure. And if you've heard Bolero, I'm not going to sing it, but essentially it kind of does have that. However, the team thought, that's fine. It's in the public domain. It's not a problem. We can use that. And we can use Bolero, just like Torval and Dean did. But just before it went to Master, so just before the game was due to go gold, they discovered that copyright for that was still active in Europe, and they had no way to actually publish the game in Europe because of it.
Yeah.
So Koji Kondo, who was the chap who came up with the rest of the incidental music, had to create a theme for Zelda in one night. So the music you hear that is so famous for Zelda, and again, I'll play a clip here, but it will be at the start, had to be created in less than 24 hours. So he kept certain elements. So the kind of dun 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 dun. So he kept that kind of rhythm and the snare, but he composed this melody over the top of it, and it's now probably one of the most recognizable themes in gaming. Everyone, you hear that, you go, that's Zelda, isn't it? It's
and again, if
mad.
If you think about that story, they've gone from a licensed song to creating their own thing. That's then become epic in its own right.
It's just again, with 24 hours to build it and create it, and then you get to come up with something like that.
Yeah.
Just amazing. It just blows me away. So so they've now got a complete game. They've got a theme song for it. And now they need to launch it. So what they decided to do for Nintendo of America, they wanted to make something that stood out from the rest of the NES games that were launching. So they decided to put it in a plastic gold shell.
Yeah.
Which was, a huge risk, mainly because financially it cost a lot more to put it in there, and they didn't know if this game was going to sell. So they built all these things and didn't even know if they were going to sell it. I'll get to sales figures. But then they had to help people understand that they could, they had to help visualize that, because back in those days, I don't know if you remember the old NES games, they were in cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see what was in it. So you didn't know it was fucking gold so they cut a hole in the thing.
Brilliant.
And that was to suggest that this wasn't just a game you were getting.
Yeah.
It was a treasure.
Yeah.
It was something special.
Which fits in with the game, right? If you think about it, what it was, what it's all about and what it's asking you to do. It's incredible. It's marketing sort of 101, right?
Yeah, exactly that. It's just, again, it's a great way to entice people in, and like we said in the bit at the beginning, you're kind of walking along going, all these games, what one do I choose? And you're immediately drawn to the one with the shiny gold, as a 10, 12-year-old. Right? Oh my God, I'm getting that one. I'm getting that. The next one is such a Nintendo thing. I can't describe how much of a Nintendo thing this is. And actually this is something that Sony do even now, like games like Astrobot and things like that. Okay. So the Japanese Famicom, the disc-based one, the floppy disk-based one, actually had a microphone on the second controller.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And there was an enemy in the game called Pole's Voice. And the way you killed it was screaming into the microphone. Right? Which is, you wouldn't think back in 1984 that was a thing they were doing.
It's like a Kojima before Kojima, isn't it? It's
totally, right? Plug in the second controller or erase your save data. Or it's one of those, but it's a very Nintendo thing to come at it at that angle. One problem. The NES didn't have a mic.
Of course, yeah.
So you couldn't defeat it. So they had to recode that part, those enemies. So its weakness was arrows.
Right.
However, they didn't update the instruction manual. I don't know if you remember or have seen the instruction manual. It's a beautiful crafted piece of work for that game. It's, there's bits of the map in it and things like that. And there's, just a hand draw. It's lovely. But the instruction manual still said the way to defeat them was that they hate loud noise. So you had thousands of children out there trying to use the recorder or the flute in the game, trying to kill them.
Right. Okay.
But it wasn't working. So,
just on
it's
that,
such a Nintendo thing to do.
Yeah, just on that. Again, people probably won't catch on, or it won't mean a lot to to people what you said, but okay, it might be seen as wasteful now, but back in the day when you did get proper boxes for games and manuals, you know, I remember getting some games where the manual was almost like a book in its own right. It was like it gave you a whole load of background to the game, and you know, you saw every character, which is now something like that would be bundled in the deluxe digital collector's edition and charged 20 quid for it. Yeah.
If you're lucky.
So, you know, this was an experience, wasn't it? As a kid,
it was stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and what was interesting, it did include a map, but that map was only 75% complete because Miyamoto wanted to entice people to explore more.
Yeah.
So it was like, hang on a minute, this bit isn't on the map in the game menu. Oh, look, there's more, you know, that kind of experience. And, you know, I just think, you know, having just half of what you were playing on the screen and half of it in your hand going, well, I can get there, but oh no, hang on a minute, where's that? But imagine that with like GTA or something like, you know, the big maps they show you before, and I'm not going to show you the rest of it, which they probably do actually, these. But yeah, you're right. You've lost it with the kind of digital side of it. You just don't get that. And I miss those manuals you used to get with the physicality of having something that, you know, was beautifully displayed. Yeah,
but it also meant you could go, there was more around the game than just the game itself, but you could also go into the game with some of the exposition already done. And maybe, you know, look, these games were limited, right? So as brilliant a game as it is, you couldn't have a massive opening tutorial section, etc. So the manual did all that in a clever way. Like if you had a great developer or publisher, they would make it part of the game rather than just X jumps, B dashes, etc., you know?
Totally. I'll tell you one game that did that replicate this in a very special, unique way was, I don't know if you played Tunic.
Yes.
Right, so Tunic was just clearly a homage to Zelda, but throughout Tunic, you collected bits of the instruction manual.
Yeah.
And they were so reminiscent of the original Zelda manual. It was such a clever way to do it. Yes, it was digital, but the way you pieced that together and had to really think about what pages related to what, and the fact that you were collecting a digital manual of the game was just brilliant. It was very meta, but it was also brilliant. I love Tunic. I thought it was brilliant. And some of the puzzles and stuff in there were mind-blowing, again, if you haven't played it. So yeah, I did briefly mention time traveling Cyborg, and people were looking at me going, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So in some of the early concept art and interviews for this game, the Triforces were actually designed to be electronic microchips, and Link was indeed a time traveler, a link between the past and the future, which became obviously more prevalent in later games like A Link to the Past, where he was a time traveling cyborg.
So how would that have panned out?
How would that have panned out, right? I think we should find out. I think we should do it. Let's build a game, Dan.
Again, isn't it funny how, look, it probably would have been as successful as this and maybe spawned similar things. But for me, the Legend of Zelda has always got a vibe of like you know, like these adventure shows, these fantasy shows. You put that into a time traveling cyborg, and it kind of, you've just got the Terminator, but
yeah, totally.
So you just wonder how it would have worked, and nowadays, and even then, would it have just blended into, in sort of 10 years later, into the mash of space games you were getting then? Do you know what I mean? It's funny, isn't it? How a decision can be made, or what potentially could have done. The sliding doors moment, I guess.
Sliding doors moment, indeed. Yeah, you know, I mean, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have seen it. I think it's, and I think some of that influence, you know, is still prevalent in the game, in that game in particular, because you obviously, you know, you're finding these artifacts, and it's a very systemic way of finding them in the game. You know, you're in levels or dungeons that are numbered 1 to 9. You know, they're not, you know, like in later games, it's like you're in the lava dungeon, or you're in the water palace, or you're in the, you know, but in that game, it was very, you know, grid based and not really kind of the fantasy world we think of as Zelda. So, you know, fascinating, like the direction that they took.
Well, that's what I got. It's 128 distinct screens that are arranged in a grid. Yeah. So that's what it is. 128 just screens stitched together.
They are, and a fascinating fact about that is, it's fascinating. I might be, you know, putting a lot into that. But the layout of the the dungeons in that are actually shaped like objects. So level 1 is an eagle, level 2 is a moon, level 3 is the manji, which people often mistake for a swastika, but is a religious symbol.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then there's level 4 is a snake, and level 5 is a lizard. So when you look at them,
there you go.
Just purely they actually form different shapes even. So how did it fare when it launched? So as I said, released in Japan in 21st of February 1986, and in July of 1987 in the US, and I think just after in Europe. The game actually total sales 6.5 million copies, and it remained the best-selling Zelda game until the launch of Ocarina of Time.
Incredible, isn't it?
The GameCube, not the GameCube, idiot. No, N64.
Yeah, it's
on the N64. I always get those two mixed up for some reason.
It's incredible, really, isn't it? It's
mad. It's, and not least because, and you kind of think Nintendo have got such a hardcore base. They've got this. There's no better word for it, fanboys. They are. Everyone who falls in love with Nintendo stays in love with Nintendo. You see that by the sales of the Wii
way, in a positive term.
Sorry, not in a. I think they are some of the most positive people. Actually, we've said before. Nintendo fans kind of sit back with their popcorn when Sony and Microsoft were going at each other throughout the late 2000s. They didn't really care. They were like, "Well, we got a Wii. I'm all right. Thanks. I've got a Switch. I'm all right." It was a different way to do things, and I think but they built this community that love the product, and I think a lot of that sprung from the early days of Super Mario and Zelda being those high performing, very different approaches to video games that we wouldn't be without now. Because I think something significant would be lost. Like you said, it's not to say some of those games wouldn't be there, but would they be the same without these influences?
I think the other thing also to take into account here, and the book you bought me for Christmas that I've linked you, there's similar-ish stories in that. So Dan got me a book. It's about a journalist / comedian. It's about his life of gaming.
It's a very good book.
Go. I really enjoyed that, and it's kind of maybe because you and I are both of an age, and you can have similar memories. But
of an age, yeah.
I guess the point I'm getting to is again that there were only so many games that came out at a time. It's not like you were flooded with games every week or every month. And so they had to make those games good if they were going to keep your custom right. And so there are certain games now, GTA 6, that are monumentous when they get released. But I think back then, each of these releases was usually quite big because you would wait. You weren't getting games every week. You weren't getting games every month. You saved up till that next big game came out. And when it did, it had to be good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. The effort went into these, and, I joked about it being a less development time, but then you were only playing with 128K. You weren't, or 64 in the shape of Zelda that had to be put on there twice. You didn't have a lot to play with. You weren't building, massive amounts of scenery and stories and Unreal 5 engines. You weren't, it was a very different time. So, care and diligence had to go into some of these games, E.T. notwithstanding, to make sure that.
That's not to, and you're right. It's not to say every game was great, but if you had a company who sort of thought about the fans as much as kind of Nintendo, and it's just to say that when if word of mouth, which was just as well, it was the thing back then as a kid, that was massive. So obviously you didn't want to hear that. You didn't want people or kids in the playground say games were shit. You wanted them to say this game is great, and then that's what got you badgering your parents to get it for you, and
totally.
and it's just when you talk about the sales figures, it's not a surprise when a game done this well.
And there are reasons why, Zelda and Mario are very much flagship titles for Nintendo. And they have, even with this game, set an incredibly high bar for the quality and the standard that it has to meet before it can even get ship out the door. Even with 128K to, how easy would it have been to go, it's only half full, ship it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But no, Well, I don't want to do that to people. They've paid for it.
Yeah.
Let's give them it.
Yeah.
And then to recreate, that in itself is just that approach and methodology and way of thinking that, people like Shigeru Miyamoto bring to gaming and kind of go, it's not about me. It's about the people who are buying the product and what we can do for them.
Because now, now it would be, let's do it as DLC.
Totally, yeah, of course.
There was a game, wasn't it? Was it Dragon's Dogma 2 that, like, being able to respec your character when you died or restart? I think there was an element of that was in DLC. If I've
I don't know. I love Dragon's Dogma 2. That was really good. That wouldn't exist without Zelda.
If I've maligned Dragon Dogma 2, but I'm sure there was something controversial about you couldn't do something. Maybe it was New Game Plus. Actually, I'm thinking it was New Game Plus.
A lot of games these days, New Game Plus comes later. It's like we'll slot it in later. But I think that's a cut down on development time because these guys fucking did it in 2 years.
Which I think is a free download is fine, but I'm sure that game charged for it. I'm sure.
Charging for it. That's naughty. And that's very naughty.
So this, like we said, some people, the cynic might say, well, they had the space, they just chucked it on a different format. They didn't have to do that though. They didn't have to.
They did not.
And as a kid who's saving all their pocket money, your paper round, etc., let's not forget. I don't know if you got price, but cartridges back in the day, they were probably more expensive. I don't even
dare look at prices. Yeah. I think we start a riot.
Yeah, but they were probably more expensive in relation to kind of value then than they are now. So you bought a game, and it talks about it in that book. You bought a game, and even if you hated it, you had to like it because you weren't getting another one. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Well, what I will say about the static RAM, including the battery on here, that apparently that's now $300. So
Ramageddon.
Not cheap. Ramageddon. So yeah, just another couple of very final thoughts and snippets. So you were originally supposed to start that game with a sword. So Link started with a sword, but to really push the discovery and your first exploration into a cave, which I didn't do when I spun it up at the weekend. I just wandered off and started dodging enemies. And you were supposed to start with a sword, but to encourage discovery and go into the cave, Miyamoto wanted it taken out, so it was stripped out of the game. And then you had to go in there and meet the old guy who goes, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, and gives you your sword.
Sorry, just on that, the line I had was, that was your tutorial. That bit there, those two lines was, it's dangerous to go alone, here's your sword. That was your tutorial.
And finally, not unlike many games, including Super Mario Brothers in those days, so it did have its own glitches. So using specific movement, I can't remember which other game did this well. You could walk through walls and access unmapped areas. They'd often crash the game and became the holy grail for glitch hunters. And this reminded me while I was reading this bit, it reminded me very much, and it was done really well in the book, to be fair. Ready Player One.
Oh yeah.
So lots of people have seen the movie that Spielberg did, but the book is phenomenal, and it goes into gross amounts of detail around glitch hunting and trying to find these things. And it's one of the things that crops up in that book is this, moving through walls that aren't supposed to, that you can move through, but you shouldn't be able to, and finding glitches. It just reminded me of that. So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything else on Zelda.
Just one thing, but it's the last thing you just said reminded me, and again, I think it's something I mentioned to you at lunch today, is that more so, I think, for the tape-based games, so like the Commodore 64 and the like, then games were often made very difficult, or the difficulty ramped up because they had such little memory to program that they didn't actually have an ending. And people have subsequently found out if you get to the end, the game just crashes because they haven't programmed in an ending.
That's right. I haven't coded that far.
So this is the thing we're dealing with. No, the only other thing I had specifically on Zelda was it said that ultimately, and I think it was an intentional thing, there was, like you said, the lack of any guidance and the mystery around the game encourage playground chat, playground rumors, strategy guys sharing maps and notes. And it's, you said before about the whole swapping games and stuff with mates. And again, it's it's that thing. I guess this is what we're doing here now. Is this for us is a vehicle to talk about games and to share experiences. And have we lost that in the past? It'd be because now everything is online, everything is shared. But back in the day, it was, I can't get past that level. How do I do it? Well, there was no sort of go onto the internet Legend of Zelda walkthrough and find out. You had to ask a mate if they'd done it. But
this is it, and this is why I'm fascinated by games like Blueprints and things like that, because you can go to IGN and see a guide, but actually the forums are the new playgrounds of this century. You go into a forum and you're chatting with people who have are halfway through this puzzle that they can't quite solve, but you've got another bit that might link into it. You talked about ARGs and things like that. That kind of approach where I can't really solve that bit on my own, but there's someone else in the community. They're the playgrounds of, nowadays is like, well, I'll go onto a Reddit or a subreddit and we'll work it out together and then we'll come out the answer.
Or you had to bring your memory card to a mate's house or get your mate over to do that bit for you, or hope you had an older sibling who could do it.
Exactly. Yeah, the old PlayStation cards that you just take around.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It is funny.
It's mad. But yeah, so look, what could have originally been a dungeon-making, cyborg, time-traveling Link
Legend of the Terminator.
The Legend of the Terminator turned into a hotbed of innovation, giving you both saving to disc and New Game Plus, inadvertently, both accidentally, with a soundtrack that was invented in 24 hours and is now one of the most recognizable themes in gaming. I'm just, I love it when we do these kinds of episodes because I love doing a dive and finding out stuff I didn't know about it before. And I just, I love it. I love Zelda. I love the legacy it's left. I love the games up until now. Please do go back and play the back catalogue of Zelda games because they're all fascinating and unique in their own way, and everyone has something a little bit special sprinkled over it. So, yeah, if you do get the chance, go and do it. But that is our celebration of 40 years since the Legend of Zelda.
Yes, Zelda's halfway to retirement now.
He's all right. He's a link between the past and future, mate. He's time traveller. Probably a cyborg as well, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. If you have enjoyed that or any of the other stuff that we put out, please do like and subscribe. It means the world to us when you do. And we will, and please also like and comment and, have a chat with us because we love that as well. We've had some phenomenal interaction recently. Have you got some there, Dan?
Now you put me on a spot. No, it's a short answer to that.
Okay.
No, but
he did promise a couple of episodes ago that he'd do that.
Well,
but
you keep talking
shout outs.
No, actually, what I was going to say actually is also last week. Well, at time of recording, we did our first live episode as well.
We did.
So do you want to talk to the lovely people about that?
Yeah, it was horrendous. It was a fucking nightmare because my tech died about 2 minutes in.
And so for a few minutes you just had me staring because I thought the screen was still up sharing.
Yeah, my PC collapsed in on itself like some sort of black hole, and then a quick reboot later and we were back in the game. But I had a lot of fun. I think it's one of those weird things when you do a live stream. It's your body takes on a different kind of thing. This thing is easy for us. I know I can go in and edit this stuff, and you kind of understand why pre-recorded and live television are very different because anything can happen, incling your PC crashing.
It was our first go, wasn't it? And I think
it was,
we enjoyed it. I think we will do more. Only around certain events.
And I do want to thank the chaps that did join in the chat and were making me laugh, particularly Joey and Pete. Just thank you for interacting with us.
Sofas and Xbox.
It is. Yeah.
It's and also we almost accidentally went live with this episode rather than recording it. So
I may have forgotten to switch off the live element, which would have been fun, but it would look a lot more professional.
Do you know what? It's just the comment I've got. So on the last episode, but it's the games ahead, games 2026. We had GWiz Games say great video, and then I think is it Cutty1427. Said loads of games for 2026. My problem is I've still got a mountain of a backlog to get through going back years now. And I was thinking that there's an episode there as well, because I mean, everyone talks about the backlog.
The curse of the game, isn't it?
But it's a great problem, right? It's a great problem. And that's what I think this has encouraged me to do. So where I'm playing a couple of games a week, I might only have played them for a short bit, but I feel like I want to play it.
And that's the problem I've got to get out of. Otherwise, every week I'm going to turn up on here going, I played Ghost of Yota and Death Stranding.
Because do you know something before we end? Something I was going to say to you that I wanted to do on another podcast, but it wasn't the right place for it, so we could do it here now. I was thinking this was on my Xbox at the time.
Right.
Was to go through the back catalogue, but from A to Z, play each game in order, and then do a little review on it.
I'm going to let you do that on your own.
I think we should do that. I think we should do that. Yeah, no. We've got it recorded now, so.
I didn't agree to it, though.
Yeah, you did.
That's like my idea of doing a 24-hour podcast.
So, yeah, well, there you said it again.
For
now.
my 50th. We're going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. Well, all right. Anything else from you, Mr. P?
No, just thank you for listening. And yeah, we might, well, we know we do, but we might have another special episode similar to this month. That's all I'm saying.
It's a good thing to say. I think we should also jump on and start doing some streaming of Ark Raiders when we get really good at it.
When I've played it for more than 5 minutes. Yeah. When my controller works and I can talk to you.
Yeah, it's a fair point. All right. Thank you, Mr. P. It's been a pleasure as always. And thank you, Gaming Crew, for joining us. And join us next week for another super exciting episode of Gaming Views. Ta-ta for now. It's 1987. You're standing in the toy aisle. You see a sea of grey plastic cartridges, but then something catches your eye. It's a box.
Hold on.
With a literal window.
Hold on, sorry. Yeah, we should unless you do in the episode. Oh no, you kind of got it in there 1986 because it's 40 years, it'll be 1986. So we say 1987. So sorry. Yeah.
I was fucking in the zone then, Dan.
Actually, you were quite good, but I felt
I'm going to Christian Bale your ass in a minute.
Sorry, I was just making sure we were good there.
Yeah, the game came out in 86, but you wouldn't have bought it till 87, Dan. Because it was on the Famicom.
Yeah,
I know what I'm talking about.
How do you know where I was in 1986?
You weren't in fucking Tokyo.
You made a mistake. I think you should do it again.
Right, I'm saving that one. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you?
New York. I don't know if I've got the time travelling bit. It's in this. It's in the document somewhere, isn't it? Right.
It sounds quite interesting. I can't wait for this episode.